Thank you for stopping by. Another night. We have a lot to talk about, a lot to break down here tonight. The Angels with a new manager, Ron Washington. Good to see him finally back in that position. It's been a long time since he has been a manager of a team, since the Texas Rangers, and he's been with the Atlanta Braves lately. And it's just nice to see, because he was a good manager with the Rangers. He's well respected among the league, among all the players. Players love him. And but I do think it could end up being a pretty decent hire for the Angels, and I'm going to tell you why. And we'll see how far that actually goes. But I think if the Angels are wanting to compete, I think this ends up being a pretty decent move. So we'll get into that. We got some Phillies news. We got Bryce Harper in the news. Rhys Hoskins is tied in with that. Sonny Gray, maybe a possible Philly at some point. We got Juan Soto, Scott Boras. Scott Boras was all over the freaking place today. My goodness. Anytime Scott Boras comes out from his, whatever the heck his office looks like, it's probably just, I wonder what his office is even worth. I mean, my goodness. I mean, is everything made of gold in Scott Boras' office? I can honestly see he has a gold desk, gold pens everywhere. He goes to his little bathroom. He's got gold toilet paper. I mean, Scott Boras, I mean, my goodness. I mean, I can't even imagine how comfortable his chair is. His chair is probably worth like 80 grand. Probably the best chair ever made. Scott Boras, that guy just rolls around in money. My goodness. But he did make some comments about a bunch of different things, right? Different players. He talked about the All-Star week, right? Where he talked about maybe, the draft maybe needing to be moved. Maybe a neutral site World Series. I don't know. I think that had a lot of negative feedback on that one. But anytime Scott Boras speaks, everyone just turns their head and they look and they listen to what Scott Boras says. He just has that effect. Got Alex Verdugo, my Red Sox, in the news. My goodness, Craig Breslow. Craig, he's out there. He's making some moves. He's making it happen out there. He's talking. He's walking. Can Craig Breslow land the big one this winter? We got Gavin Lux in the news. A little Gavin Lux here. Some Dodger news. Of course, the Dodgers. They're going to be all over the place. The Blue Jays are in the news. We got Jorge Soler in the news. Like I said, we got a big show here tonight. And did I mention Juan Soto? Did I say Juan Soto? Juan Soto is in the news as well. Could the Padres hang on to him? We'll get into all of that here. Before I do get started, I need all of your friendly faces to hit the crap out of that like button. I will like everything about that. I will love you forever if you can help us get out there into the algorithm. YouTube likes that like button. I say it every single time, but it is true. All right, the more likes you get, the more YouTube pushes out the streams. And everyone, if you are new, think about subscribing down below. We've been having a lot of new subscribers lately from the free agent prediction video this past weekend. And wow. Everyone, I have to actually, touch on that. I have been touching on that a little bit. And I have to say, everyone, that video is now the most viewed video in the history of this channel. The trade deadline video that I do every year, that was the high in views for the channel back in July. And now we have a new top video on the channel. I can't thank all of you enough. I mean, that's just incredible, right? And people still keep clicking on it. They just want to see what my potato of a brain has to say and how wrong I'm going to be, which I'm okay with that. But I just want to say thank you for the support on that video. Incredible. I never would have imagined, having one video get into the 100Ks, but now two. I mean, and now it's an all-timer for this channel at this point. I mean, that's just crazy. So I'm really thankful about that, man. I'm just saying, man. I do appreciate that. Anyway, enough of me rambling about that. You all want to hear the rumors. You all want to hear the news. And we're going to get to it here. So before I do get started, don't forget, our sponsor is Underdog Fantasy. In my opinion, the best stop for all of your daily fantasy needs. I know there's no baseball on at the moment. I know that. It's sad. It's cold. But we got the rumors that are keeping us warm. But they got basketball. They got football. They got hockey. I mean, they got golf. There's a whole bunch of different ways to play. Try and win yourself some cash. And what the best part about it is it's daily. So you can just do a new round of picks, drafts the very next day. So go check it out. Go see if you can win yourself a few bucks. But as always, play responsibly. Don't forget about SeatGeek. I know baseball's not here, but if you are planning on going to any other events, it doesn't have to be sporting events. It could be concerts, whatever. I don't know. Who knows what else they got on there. But if you do decide to get some tickets for something, go check it out and use my code HIDE to get $20 off your first purchase. Okay. Enough of me rambling. Let's get to it. You all want to hear the rumors and all the news. And we got to start off here with Ron Washington, right? Ron Washington. This is a guy, he's just been a favorite among Major League Baseball for years now, right? There's never a bad thing to say about Ron Washington. There's only good things you hear about the guy. I mean, with the Rangers, right, made it to back-to-back World Series with them. They were one strike away 2 separate times. He was that close to winning a World Series. Just couldn't quite get the job done. Right, the year prior against the Giants, couldn't get it done. But Ron Washington, a very successful manager during that time, 8 seasons from 2007 to 2014, 664 wins. Like I said, made it to back-to-back World Series. He was with the A's after that as their third base coach, and then recently he was with the A's, and now he has been with the Braves, and now he is running the ship in LA. And one thing with Ron Washington, like I said, sure, right? He's racked up a good amount of wins, especially in the, early to mid 2010s there, right? Back-to-back World Series. But, people are wondering, I honestly thought Buck Showalter was going to be the guy. I really did. I'm thinking, all right, Buck Showalter. Immediately, as soon as him and the Mets parted ways, immediately his name came up with the Angels, right? The Angels had interest. And I just thought, if this guy still wants to manage, I thought the Angels would be a good fit, And honestly, anytime Buck Showalter goes anywhere, it seems like anytime he lands in a place, they get results pretty quick. And then, obviously, with the Mets this past year, they fell flat on their face. But I was thinking, all right, well, there's a guy that can really help pick up things in Angel Land. I thought Buck Showalter could have been the guy. So I was a little surprised about Ron Washington being the guy, to be honest with you. But I don't hate the move at all. I think it's great. I just thought Buck Showalter was going to be the guy, just because he had been a manager recently, had a good amount of success a couple of years ago with the Mets. So in the end, though, I think it's awesome for the Angels. Just looking at the personality is the first thing that stands out with Ron Washington. Obviously, a very likable guy. He's got a ton of energy, man. He's 71 years old, but he's got all the energy in the world. That's awesome to see. I love that, right? He's just always got a nice thing to say. He's just always just got a cheerful demeanor on him. Hey, players like being around that, right? It just seems like just a very positive person to be around a lot. And I think, honestly, with how much negativity there is right now with the Angels and, not able to really get anything going there, I think he's actually a great fit, for just the culture right now. I think he's just going to be an uplifting presence there, just based off of the person that he is. But we have stats, everyone. We have stats. And Ron Washington, right, he has been known to be, a valuable person with the coaching staff when it comes to working with infielders, right? And Ron Washington, I think, would be a great fit just based off this one statistic alone, based off of the amount of work he has done with infielders in the past. The Angels could really use it. They were 28th last year in outs above average in their infield. And honestly, I do think that was if you were to go and, talk to these guys that were interviewing them, I guarantee you they would say, hey, we need our infield defense to be better, right? Ron Washington has that reputation. Get a little bit more out of those infielders. And that's going to be a huge thing for the Angels. Get that defense going a little bit. It's going to help out the pitching, right? I think this just one stat alone, I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of other ones, but if you're just looking at one stat right there shows you it looks like a pretty good fit already, at least statistically. So overall, I really like the move. I just, again, I thought it would be Buck Showalter just because he has, that recent experience, just this past season. But I am very happy for Ron Washington. I think for a long time, he has deserved to get another chance somewhere because he did great work with the Rangers, man. I mean, even after, they won the pennant in the American League those couple of years, they still had pretty good records the years after those World Series, right? 2012, they won 93 games. 2013, they won 91 games. So it wasn't like, they just stopped, right? They were still a contending team those couple of years after that World Series, right? The back-to-back World Series. So in the end, I think this is well-deserved. I think Ron Washington absolutely deserved another chance, and I'm glad he got it. So moving on here for the Angels, right? Let's see what they do. There's, again, a lot of negativity around the Angels, right? It doesn't look likely they're going to keep Ohtani. Could this somehow, some way, maybe entice Ohtani to stay? I don't know. I don't really see how that does much of anything to help him stay, but I don't know. It's a positive move, right? Anything the Angels can get right now to convince Ohtani to try and stay. I mean, they're trying anything they can, right? Hey, we got a new manager. We got Ron Washington. This guy's well respected. You'll love Ron, right? Will that do anything for him? I don't know. Probably not. But who knows? After Aaron Judge last year, listen, everyone thought he was going to the San Francisco Giants, right? We've seen many free agents in the past, right? We thought they were going somewhere, and they ended up just re-signing with their team. Listen, I'm not saying Ohtani's going to stay with the Angels. What do I know? I don't know anything. I'm a dope that sits in my desk. But if he re-signs with the Angels, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, right? We thought Judge was gone last year. I know it's a different situation. Obviously, Judge is not Ohtani. I get that. But, hey, it is what it is. I'm kind of now, basically what I'm trying to say, if a guy just re-signs, I'm just not going to be shocked about it, right? Not even going to be bummed out, whatever. It's just, hey, it just happens. Anyway, let's see if this does anything for him. So, moving on to our next story. And, since we're out west already, let's talk a little Juan Soto, right? Juan Soto is in the news, and he's been in the news here for a little while. Heavily speculated that he could be on the move this offseason. The most recent reports that we've seen, 50-50 chance that Juan Soto gets traded, right? Or just stays with the Padres. It's really hard to tell, right? Because it seems based off of reports, the Padres really want Juan Soto to stay and sign an extension for the long term. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know. My gut says I don't see him re-signing there. I just don't, right? I don't know, man. After Mookie going to L.A., going to the Dodgers after getting traded there, how quickly he signed an extension. I just think if the Padres really wanted to get it done, I think they could have gotten it done already. But the fact that Scott Boras is his agent, that's going to be tough, right? And I think the Padres, they want to just try and get as much out of him as they can because they give up so much for him, right? So, yeah, I definitely see them wanting to keep him for next year. But at the same time, if the right offer comes along, I can understand why they would move him. But Scott Boras here did have some comments about the situation. Let's take a listen.
Met with the Padres. They laid out their plan for next year, which obviously included, a lineup that is definitely includes Juan Soto. He's their 900 OPS player, and they're obviously looking for more left-handed bats rather than less.
All right, so the first thing that comes off to me, anytime I hear Scott Boras talk, I always think There's something behind everything he always says, right? From what he sound on the surface to me, right? What that sounds like is the Padres want to keep him, right? I mean, I think, yeah, they would like to keep him, obviously. He makes their lineup better. Like he just mentioned, he was their only 900 OPS player last year. So, yeah, there's definitely a reason to keep him. The one thing I think about with Boras, right, I always think he's got a plan, right? He's always got something cooking in his mind. To me, anytime I hear agents talk, anyone talk about deals and contracts or whatever out in the media, I just think it's all about leverage at the end of the day. Now, you might be asking, well, how does this increase leverage, for Juan Soto and Scott Boras? I don't necessarily think it's really increasing leverage there, but I think he's also looking out for Cody Bellinger as well, right? Because for making Juan Soto sound like he's not as available, well, now that's going to get the leverage up for Cody Bellinger. Oh, well, Juan Soto maybe not available. All right, let's go call Cody Bellinger. Let's see what's going on with him, right? That's just going to drive up his price, right? Scott Boras is smart, man. He is a really, really sharp guy, all right? This is why he's Scott Boras, right? This is why he's had the major players, right? I just think there's always something behind it. And that's kind of the first thing I thought. I'm like, all right, what is he trying to accomplish here by saying that the Padres want to hang on to him? But I also think he's also just looking out for the best interest of his client, right? If you could maybe think about, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but when you think of Scott Boras, right, saying Juan Soto going to be a Padre next year, they want to keep him, right? He's also just looking out for the best interest in him because I think the more that teams can give up for him, right, the better Juan Soto is going to look, right? Oh, yeah, well, hey, they had to give up these prospects in this package, right? Go back to the Nationals package, right? Look at all these players that they had to give up for Juan Soto. So, yeah, obviously, the value is still very high with Juan Soto. So, I think he's just, any way he can, is always just trying to look out for the best interest of his clients. So, I wouldn't necessarily take this completely for, at its word, right? I think there could be some thinking behind that there. So I do think the Padres want to keep Soto. I think they would like to, but I think if there's a deal that comes along, and if it's a deal they can't turn down, I think they do trade him, right? But I think if they're not blown away, right? Like if the Yankees really want to put their best foot forward and give up as many prospects as they can, I think maybe they pull the trigger on it, right? Or maybe the Mariners or maybe the Giants, right? That's my thinking. Anytime Scott Boras talks about players, I could be wrong about what I just said. I don't know exactly. My brain isn't that good. But I do know for a fact, anytime Scott Boras speaks, it's always something behind it, right? And there's always something financial behind it, right? Always, any way he can, trying to create leverage. I would honestly love to just talk with Scott Boras one day. I don't know why the heck that guy would ever talk to me. I would just love to pick his brain, right? Because it seems like any time someone is playing checkers, he's playing like 8D chess, right? And it just seems like he's always thinking like 20 steps ahead of anyone else. That's why I'm intrigued. I just want to pick his brain about stuff. I'm just saying. XB Sports, thank you, my friend. I'm glad someone thinks my brain is okay. It doesn't feel okay today. I might not sound tired. I'm really tired today. I had a long day at work, man. My goodness. Kids in my class today, they were freaking nuts today. My goodness. I'm a tired boy. So anyway, Scott Boras, he did have quite a lot more to say. I'll get into that in a second, but we did have something here from Gary Phillips, beat writer for the Padres. Or actually, is this the Padres? Actually, no, it might be the Yankees. Is this the Yankees? It's the Yankees. I'm sorry. I apologize. Gary Phillips, beat writer for the Yankees, says here, AJ Preller said the Padres will continue to talk with Scott Boras about Juan Soto, then evaluate kind of where it leaves us for the rest of this offseason and into the next year. Preller said Soto has expressed interest in staying in San Diego. I don't buy it. Juan Soto to me just doesn't come off as like a San Diego kind of guy. I don't know. Is that just me? I don't know. It doesn't look right to me. I just see him as a Met or a Yankee. Right? I just see him as someone, like, I don't know. I just don't see him in a Padres uniform. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Sorry, Padres fans. I'm not trying to put you down there. But it says here, Soto has expressed interest in staying in San Diego and that pitching is a priority. Right? And then Scott Boras also mentioned that the Padres were even looking for more left-handed bats. So, I don't know. Who knows? I definitely think they're, sure, Boras said those things today, but I don't think for a second you should count out that he could still get traded. So, taking a look at some other things that Scott Boras said today. I mean, honestly, I think he has now turned himself into, like, he goes and hides in the shadows, right? He goes and hides in his golden office for, however long he likes to stay there. And then he comes out and he just says all these, like, wackadoodle quotes, man. Like, he had 4 different quotes here about 4 different players, at least the ones that I could find, right? He talked about Jung-Hoo Lee, who is actually a Scott Boras client, coming over from the KBO eventually. And, Scott Boras is actually his agent. I actually didn't know that. I didn't realize Jung-Hoo Lee and Scott Boras were together. He is going to bring K-pop to Major League Baseball. All right. Okay. Decent. All right. Nice little start there. But this one, I kind of laughed at this one. Chicago got the comforts of a full belly. They're going to have to loosen their belts to keep Bellinger. Nice. When it comes to the polar bear, we're not in contract hibernation. First off, polar bears don't hibernate. Okay, Scott Boras, please get your, come on. Get your act together there, Scott Boras. You swung and missed on that one because it doesn't go together. Polar bears don't hibernate. But he says we're not in contract hibernation. So, basically, they are open to looking for an extension. And, hey, let's see if he ends up staying. He made one more, I believe. About David Stearns. Mets fans have been grumpy with me the last few days because I only gave one player in my top 40 for the Mets, which, that's probably not going to be correct. I gave you Adam Duvall. You will sign Adam Duvall, and you will like it, Mets fans. I just expect a quieter offseason for the Mets. I don't want to say quiet. I still think they're going to do things. I could be wrong. Maybe they go sign Yamamoto. Who knows? Maybe they shock everyone and sign Nola. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe they end up signing someone. I don't know. I just personally think with all the money, if it were me, again, I'm not Steve Cohen. What do I know? I mean, goodness. I go to Chipotle and, hope I can afford my Chipotle that night. So what do I know? But I don't know. If it's just me, if I've spent all this money in the last couple of years and I only won 75 games this past season, I don't know. A part of me is going to think, okay, I maybe need to be a little bit more frugal with the money. Let's try and build back up a little bit, right? That's just how I think. I think they're going to make moves. I don't know how big the moves are going to be. I just feel like the Mets, they already have a pretty good core in place. Right? Sure, they definitely can add to the team. They do need pitching. All right? I just don't know how big they go. Hey, they could go big. It is Scott Boras it is Steve Cohen at the end of the day. But Scott Boras did say, when you have the bigger jet and you say you're going slower, you're still going faster. That one, listen, my potato brain, that one took me a couple of reads to fully understand. So basically what he's saying is, the Mets are going to slow down, right? Probably limit their spending, but they're still going to be active. That's pretty much what I got from it. So, Scott Boras, always entertaining us baseball folk out there with his fun quotes. So, good to see Mr. Boras. Here we go. We got a couple of super chats coming in. I think we had a couple of super chats. Did we have a couple of super chats, or did we just get one? We just got the one. Jimmy Productions, how you doing? $1.99. No Soto, don't go to a division rival. Yeah, that would stink. If you're a Nationals fan and he ends up going to the Mets. One more from Jimmy Productions. I hope Juan Soto goes to the Giants. I think that'd be a good fit. I don't know. I don't know if the Padres trade him to the Giants. I don't think that happens, but I don't know. To me, the Yankees are the best fit for Juan Soto. It just makes sense. Pinstripes, Juan Soto, just sounds right. I don't know, man. Just sounds right. So, moving on here. I'm going to remember to close out some tabs so my brain doesn't get all confused and looking for tabs. Our next story is... What is our next story? We got... since we're talking about trades, since we're talking about outfielders with Juan Soto, I mean, it only makes sense that we have to talk about the next best outfielder out there besides Juan Soto, and that's Alex Verdugo on the Red Sox, of course. I'm just kidding. But Alex Verdugo, Craig Breslow, he talked today. It's nice to see Craig Breslow out there, talking. I'm not saying Chaim Bloom never talked to people. Chaim Bloom, yeah, he actually did talk to people. But it's a little different about Craig Breslow. It feels like he's giving some more straightforward answers. He definitely has given some answers that are maybe not quite straightforward, but today and the past couple of days, he has given some pretty straightforward answers. And he did say today that they have been receiving trade inquiries on Alex Verdugo. And I actually do think it was good the way he answered it, because he didn't necessarily say that Verdugo is being shopped, right? He just said he has gotten some calls. So, in a way, he's saying, yeah, we're not shopping him. It's pretty clear they're shopping him, right? I mean, everyone under the sun knows Verdugo is in his last year of arbitration. They got younger guys. Like, you got Wilyer Abreu there. It just doesn't really make sense to hang on to Verdugo, right? They have a log jam of outfielders. They got lefties all over the place. Verdugo can bring you some value. And so we all know he's been on the market. But the fact that Breslow did say they have been getting calls about him makes me think Verdugo is probably, my guess, will probably be gone by Christmas. I would imagine he's going to be gone. I don't know how much you're really going to get for him. When it comes to Verdugo, it's not going to be a ton. Right? If we were to go to his value here on baseball trade values, and I got to say it every time, the news site is snazzy, everyone. It looks great. It moves faster. I'm just saying. No, they're not paying me to advertise baseball trade values. I just love the site. I've been on their site since 2019. But Verdugo, he will bring you a little something, right? Right now, you're looking at a $5 million median value. I would imagine it's probably going to be around there. So personally for Verdugo, I do think it's going to be more along the lines of like a depth starter kind of a guy. I mean, if we were to actually go to, and this is another cool feature on baseball trade values, they have a new thing called the value matcher. You do have to have a subscription, right? It's for the whole year. So go check out their options. But they do have a value matcher where you can just simply click that and it's going to find players instantly for you that are right around the same value. So honestly, with Verdugo, I could actually just see maybe a 1-for-1 swap with him. So maybe get like I said, like a depth starter, maybe like a pretty decent arm for the bullpen, maybe a bullpen arm, maybe like a mid-tier prospect along with him. I could see something like that. But taking a look at some of the teams that could use some improvement in the outfield, right? The White Sox, they were dead last, but I don't know if he quite fits with them. Cleveland, they definitely could use another bat, so maybe something with Cleveland there is possible. The Marlins, I know they do have a bit of a log jam in outfielders. I mean, if we were to take a look here, out in right, you got Jesus Sanchez. You already got a lefty bat there. Verdugo's not really going to be much of an upgrade over him. In the DH spot, you got Aviseo Garcia. So I don't know if he really fits with the Marlins all that much. You could see a fit with the Guardians. I mean, right now, Laureano is tabbed as the right fielder for next year. So I don't know. Maybe they got a lot of lefty bats though. I look at a team like the Astros, right? Maybe you could bring in Verdugo and he can kind of, with Chas McCormick as the righty bat, maybe Verdugo can, as a lefty bat that can work in there, Maybe not, though. I mean, Jake Myers, that's been a guy that hasn't really got his footing. So maybe you could have Verdugo instead of him. So I think the Astros could be a pretty decent fit. Maybe the Braves, right? You got Forrest Wall, who looked like Babe Ruth in 15 plate appearances last year. But, he's 28. I don't know. What do they see in Forrest Wall? Braves fans, let me know. But maybe Verdugo with the Braves, I could see something like that. So there are some fits out there for Verdugo. We also have another story out there. And speaking of outfielders that are on the block, we have Brendan Donovan. Brendan Donovan, his season got cut short last season, but Brendan Donovan is a very productive player. I'm a big fan of Brendan Donovan. Plays a ton of different positions. Again, he did have his season cut short, but he did start a throwing program yesterday, which the elbow is what he's rehabbing at the moment. So Brendan Donovan looks like he's going to be good to go for next year, but really good numbers for him last year. Hit 284, a 365 on base, 422 slugging is fine, but a 118 WRC plus. Had the 11 homers, and this is only over 95 games, right? I like Brendan Donovan. I think he's a guy that really can ignite your offense a bit. I think he's just a good, hard-nosed player. I remember when I first noticed Brendan Donovan was in 2022. They came to Fenway, and Brendan Donovan was just like a menace in that series against the Red Sox. So to me, I'm like, dang, this guy's pretty good. Right? He just makes a lot of contact. He gets the bat and the ball. So looks like the Cardinals have been maybe gauging some interest in him, which makes sense because the Cardinals, they had a good offense last year, but the pitching was the problem. Right? So you could use someone like Brendan Donovan to help you acquire some pitching. Right? And according to reports, the Yankees have been interested. And that was from Derek Gould, who is one of the top writers for the Cardinals, right, for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. And he also had to say here that Dylan Cease maybe can be someone of interest. But where is the Brendan Donovan article? My goodness, how many times does he repost something? Where's the Brendan Donovan article? I know it's here somewhere. What the heck is going on? What is this guy? Oh, he's posting like the same thing over and over and over again. Anyway, but that was reported by Derek Gould. So it's not just Brendan Donovan, Dylan Carlson as well, Alec Burleson, right? So those guys have come up. If you were to go take a look at Brendan Donovan, right, he has some pretty decent value. Again, he's under a lot of control. That's another thing about him. He's not a free agent until 2029. And he's making barely any money per year, under $1 million. So last time I checked, a productive player under a lot of control that's barely making any money, yeah, you're going to have a pretty high value. His value did get knocked down a little bit because of the elbow injury, but with Donovan, I mean, this is a guy that can really help out a lot of lineups. So if we were to maybe put together a trade with the Yankees, I mean, I might have something in mind here, everyone. Yankee fans, Cardinals fans, you're going to let me know how this is for you. But for the Cardinals, let's send over Brendan Donovan. So you're looking at around $27 million of a median value. Remember, there's a range for baseball trade values. It can go as low as 21.5, or it can even go above 30, right? So I think that's a pretty healthy value for him as of right now. Right around, 25, 27 million. I could see that. So the Yankees, they really could use a bat like this. Like a contact hitter, can play multiple positions as well. So with the Yankees, hey, they got someone by the name, maybe Clark Schmidt, that could go back to the Cardinals, right? The Yankees, maybe you can go trade Clark Schmidt, maybe go sign Yamamoto to replace him in the rotation. So maybe you can start off with Clark Schmidt. Maybe you can, I don't know, if you throw in Pereira, that might be kind of pushing it a little bit. That's, a major league ready starter and a pretty high prospect. So maybe instead of Pereira, maybe you can do like Drew Thorpe, right? And you're already in that range already. But remember, with Brendan Donovan, Baseball Trade Values was saying it could go maybe even up to 32, right? So maybe throw in maybe someone like a Will Warren, right? Now, again, that's 2 higher pitching prospects there. I mean, you're giving up a lot of pitching here. So maybe not Will Warren. Maybe can throw in more of a position player prospect. Nope, don't want to click value matcher. I don't know, maybe like someone like Trey Sweeney. I don't know where he fits long term with the Cardinals, but that's a bat. So maybe something like this. A 3-for-1 Schmidt, Thorpe, Sweeney. Something like that. I could see a trade like that working out. So we'll have to see what happens there. So Brendan Donovan, here we go. Coming back to you. We got some super chats coming in. Jimmy Productions, do you think Wander Franco will get traded? No, at this point, I don't even know if Wander Franco plays. I don't even know what's going on with him. I know for logistical reasons, he was put back onto the active roster. I don't remember the exact reason. There's something, I think, for him to be on the roster there was like a certain deadline or something. I don't remember the exact reason. But anyway, no, I don't think he's going to get traded. I don't see that. I think he's either a Ray or he doesn't play next year, right? So we'll have to see what happens with that. And then, Jimmy, you had one more, $4.99. Could you pair Alex Verdugo with someone and send him to the Brewers for Corbin Burns or Brandon Woodruff? So that is something that I have thought about before. That could make some sense, right? I mean, if we're looking at the Milwaukee Brewers, let's go pull them up here. And before we move on to the next story, I'm going to take a look at this. Thank you, Jimmy, for the $4.99 super chat. All right, the Brewers are always an organization. They're always trying to compete, right? Always trying to stay in contention. So with Verdugo, it is a major league ready bat that could help them out right now. And I don't know what is going on with Fangraphs right now. Fangraphs, you're killing me. I'm trying to promote your site here live on the show, and you're not loading. Anyway, but I'm trying to remember the Brewers. Like, I feel like you already got Yelich there. You got Mitchell, who's going to be coming back, and then you got Frelick. So I don't know if he really fits there, to be honest with you. So I see the thinking behind it, but I don't think the Brewers really need Verdugo. But I could see maybe the Red Sox and the Brewers maybe coming together on a deal. I would think with the Brewers, if they want anything major league ready, I can see the Brewers for Corbin Burns wanting maybe a starter in return, like a young starter. They could use an upgrade at third base, so maybe a young third baseman, something like that for Corbin Burns. I could see something like that happening. So I could see maybe like the Orioles with like Jordan Westberg. Maybe they could, center a package around him. The Dodgers, they got some position players there. We'll talk about the Dodgers actually in a little bit. So there's definitely some possibilities out there for Corbin Burns. Philip Beasley, how you doing, my friend? How you doing? What about Alex Verdugo for Gleyber Torres? Helps them both, right? That would be a really interesting trade. Could you imagine that? No way, though. I do see the thinking behind it. But Gleyber, let's actually see here. I think Gleyber Torres is right around the same value. I could be wrong. Gleyber Torres, what is he? He's a little higher than Verdugo, 6.9. I don't see Cashman doing that. Cashman loves Gleyber Torres. Cashman wants Babe Ruth for Gleyber Torres. That's kind of the impression that I've always gotten. So I do expect Gleyber Torres to be a Yankee next year. Why? Because he's kept Gleyber Torres for all of these years. And honestly, the Yankees, they need bats. So I don't really see them giving him up. I do see the thinking, though. Not a bad thought. Moving on here. Let's close out some of these tabs. And let's get to the Phillies here. The Phillies have a new first baseman, everyone. They have a new first baseman. I don't know if you know him or not. He's he's pretty good. Not too bad. Bryce Harper, their new long-term first baseman. And I'm going to be honest with you. I love it. I think with Harper, I think this preserves him long-term, right? He can still go out and play the outfield, right? It's not like he's never going to play the outfield again. He could definitely still go out there, right? He's going to be playing first base the majority of the time, right? So I could definitely see him maybe getting like 10, 20, who knows, maybe even up to like 25, 30 games in the outfield. I think that could be possible. So, but I think for the long-term health of Bryce Harper, I think this is actually really good. I think, it's funny because when you look at Bryce Harper, it's like you don't really see like a first baseman right off the bat, but hey, you know what? If he can play there, and he did all right there, right? He even played there in the postseason. So I think with Harper, to me, I think this is going to be great for the longevity of his career, right? He's still out in the field, but, it's kind of keeping his legs a little more fresh, not moving around at first base as much. You have Harper for the bat. That's the big thing you want with Harper. It's his bat, right? Yeah, he was, in the outfield. Actually, let me pull this up with Bryce Harper a little bit, because I feel like there were a couple of years where he didn't have the greatest numbers out in the outfield. Let me actually pull this up. Well, Fangraphs, you guys are stinking up the joint on me here. I'm trying to look at your stuff, but nothing's loading. Of course. Perfect timing. Anyway, but I feel like there were some years with Bryce Harper where he wasn't very good out in the outfield. He was, getting negative defensive runs saved, right? The OAA, wasn't strong some years. So I think in the end, again, you have him for the bat, right? That's what you want with Bryce Harper, right? He's going to give you a great season with the bat every single year. And, he has been dinged up in the last couple of years. So I think in the end, this is a great move. It does spell the end, most likely, for Rhys Hoskins. I didn't expect Rhys Hoskins to go back just because the Phillies already just had a bit of a full squad as it was, right? There was really nowhere for him to go, right? Based off of, what they have now in place, right? Saying Schwarber is going to be basically the DH moving forward. So, Rhys Hoskins, I expect him to kind of go maybe one of these smaller market teams that could use some offense. I think the Pirates could really use a power bat. I think the Brewers would be a really good fit, right? Rowdy Tellez had a down year last year, but I think Rhys Hoskins would be great for the Brewers. I could see the Brewers doing that. Maybe like a 1-year deal with an option where they're not locked into like a long-term deal, and he should come cheaper because he has been hurt. So I could see the Brewers doing that. I could see the Pirates doing that. So we'll see. So, but Bryce Harper, the new first baseman, full-time for the Philadelphia Phillies. And speaking of the Phillies, we got Sonny Gray in the news. From John Morosi, the Phillies are interested in Sonny Gray, sources say. That rhymed. And will be a top suitor for him if they do not retain free agent Aaron Nola. Gray and Philly pitching coach Caleb Cotham are former college teammates and worked well together while Cotham was with the Reds. So, yeah, there's that connection there. Phillies putting out some feelers for Sonny Gray. The Phillies, Dave Dombrowski, he's a smart guy, right? He knows it's not a guarantee Nola comes back. I think they would like to keep Nola. I think they have a set price on what they will offer him. I just wonder if teams are going to just go too far from what the Phillies are willing to give him. Because Nola, at the end of the day, he's a workhorse kind of a guy. And teams, sure, up and down season last year for Aaron Nola, but the guy is a workhorse, right? And teams appreciate that. And when with the track record he has, I could see Aaron Nola, probably going somewhere else because I think teams are going to really bid on him, right? Of course, he could end up going back to the Phillies. I definitely see that. Could have Nola go back to the Phillies and then maybe even bring in Gray as well. What a 1-2-3 punch that would be, right? Zach Wheeler, Nola, Gray. That'd be a great 1-2-3. Ranger Suarez as your 4. I think that'd be awesome. But keep your eyes out for this. I don't have Sonny Gray going to the Phillies. I personally think he's going to go to the Cardinals. I think he just fits better with what the Cardinals do. They like those ground balls there, and Sonny Gray gets a lot of them. But the Cardinals also want to start beefing up the strikeouts a little bit more, and Sonny Gray can also get some strikeouts too, right? He has good stuff. So I think, honestly, Sonny Gray is almost like a perfect fit for the Cardinals. I think with the Cardinals, based off of how the pitching was this past year, and there has been some stuff about the Cardinals' pitching development in the last couple of years where they're just so focused on the ground balls, right? They really want to almost stick to that old school kind of approach. But, people have been kind of getting on to them about they're not really up with the times when it comes to their pitching, and that's why they were so bad last year. So I think they might have to spend a little bit more to entice a guy. But to me, if they can, I had my predictions. I have Nola and Gray going to the Cardinals. I honestly, coming into the offseason, the Mozeliak said that he wanted to add 3 starting pitchers. Now, don't think they get 3 starting pitchers, at least big names, in the free agent market. I could see them getting up to 2, maybe just 1, and then maybe going out there and making a trade. Like Shane Bieber, I think, we've seen the connection with Bieber and the Cardinals for a bit now, but I think it does make a lot of sense because Bieber, he is, like, if you go look at the numbers from last year, Bieber's strikeouts were down and he was giving up more contact. So I think that could end up fitting in nicely with the Cardinals, right? Still has a pretty high ground ball percentage as well. So I wonder if that ends up being one of their acquisitions, or at least they try to. So we'll have to see. But the Phillies, it seems to me that they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, which is smart, right? You don't want to put all your eggs in Aaron Nola's basket. You want to keep tabs out there. Look at Gray. Go look at these guys. Maybe even Yamamoto. My goodness. A couple super chats coming in. Actually, just one super chat. I'm sorry. Jimmy Productions, $4.99. Jimmy Productions supporting the show tonight. Could the Cubs beef up the rotation and sign Blake Snell or Aaron Nola and trade Jameson Taillon for Verdugo? That's interesting. Never thought of that. Jameson Taillon, not a great year last year. Don't know how I would feel about that. If we got Taillon as like a back end kind of a guy, I wouldn't hate it. And with Breslow, right? Breslow, this guy's all about the pitching development. I guess I wouldn't necessarily hate that. At the end of the day, if you could add some depth, I do have, in my predictions, I do have the Cubs signing Blake Snell. I think they need more strikeouts there, and to me, that's a perfect fit, right? And they just need more stuff in that rotation. I think Blake Snell is a really nice fit with the Cubs. That's just me. But if I were to look at Taillon, what is his value right now? Can't be that big. So he has a negative value right now, negative 11.1, Jimmy. So, I don't know. They're probably going to have to pay some of that contract, I would imagine. That wouldn't be an even swap. I don't see Verdugo and Taillon. I think they would have to pay down the contract. Maybe even throw in a prospect in there as well. I wouldn't hate it necessarily. Taillon was not good last year, but he was pretty good with the Yankees a couple of years ago. So if they can get him back to that form and he's your, 4th or 5th starter in that rotation, I wouldn't hate it necessarily. So not a bad idea. Here we go. Moving on here. And we just got some other news throughout the league, right? Just some quick ones that I'm going to touch on. Jorge Soler. He's getting interest from multiple clubs. Not a surprise. Jorge Soler, this guy just hits tanks, right? Great season last year with the Marlins. Bounce back season after some injuries a couple of years ago. But free agent outfielder, designated hitter. Let's just call him a designated hitter. Jorge Soler is just so bad in the outfield. Keep the guy at the DH spot. He's drawing interest from around 6 teams. The Marlins, adding that the Marlins are interested in bringing him back on a multi-year deal. Now, if we were to take a look at some teams that could simply just use a little bit more power, right? Let's just go look at the teams that ranked near the bottom when it came to slugging percentage last year, right? Oh, I forgot Fangraphs isn't freaking working. Well, crap. All right. Well, can't pull that up because Fangraphs, they decided to just stop working on me. Anyway, but Jorge Soler, my pick for them was the Tigers, personally, because I just think they could use some power. They could use some more pop in that lineup. I think that would be a really nice fit. If you're looking at different DH spot, I think the Marlins, obviously, he was great. I thought that was a great fit going to the Marlins. I thought it just made a lot of sense. They needed a bat, right? And he produced. Not last year, but this year. So I could see him going back. They did list some other teams here that could be pretty good fits. Or did they? I don't remember. Anyway, but, there's the usual suspects that are out there, right? You got the Guardians, right? That's a team that could definitely use something in that lineup. Could he end up going back to the Cubs? right? Maybe they could use another bat. If they're going to lose Bellinger, maybe you could, get some power back in that lineup. So a ton of different spots he could go to, right? So Jorge Soler, keep an eye out for that. His market is pretty big. Looking at other teams right now, the Dodgers. Maybe the Dodgers could be a fit for Jorge Soler. Teoscar Hernandez, they're showing interest in. I'm going to be honest with you. When I was doing my predictions, I looked at the Dodgers as a possible fit. And I was thinking, man, the Dodgers, they do fit. But I'm thinking they want to put all their money on Ohtani. I almost, when it came to my predictions, I didn't want to give a whole lot to the Dodgers just because I have them getting Ohtani, and that's going to be a massive contract. So, I was kind of hesitant on giving, a lot of players to the Dodgers, right? Just because they're going to be using so much money on Shohei. But I did see a connection with Teoscar Hernandez and the Dodgers. There is, a bit of a fit there, right? That could be a fallback option if you don't get Ohtani, right? With Teoscar Hernandez, the slash line wasn't amazing for him last year, but 26 homers, had 90-plus RBIs, so Teoscar, what I had someone tell me the other day? Someone commented this the other day saying, how did he word this? He said, anyone that uses RBIs has no credibility. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? Last time I checked, when you're driving in a lot of runs, that's a good thing, right? And it was just crazy that I read that comment. I'm like, dude, do you not hear me anytime I'm talking about anything when it comes to stats? I'm always talking about the on base. I'm always talking about the slugging. I bring up the WRC plus. I look at the advanced metrics. I look at even contact percentage. I look at stuff like that. And it's like, I swear, some people, they just look for something, and they just he said this part. Oh, I'm gonna try and trash on him for this. And it's like, did you not hear anything else I said? It's like, what? And I'm thinking to myself, how does saying RBIs take away credibility? That's the first time I've ever heard that before. Some people out there, I swear, I don't know. I guess driving in runs isn't a good thing, everybody. I guess so. So, anyway, moving on. The Dodgers, Teoscar Hernandez, that could be an option for them. But other news with the Dodgers is that Gavin Lux is looking to be the shortstop for the Dodgers next season. Brandon Gomes said that he appears on track to be the primary shortstop. All right. Said that he's going to get a lot of reps at short next year, which, remember, everyone kind of forgot about Gavin Lux because he got hurt. So, right, he had the knee injury. So, don't forget about Gavin Lux, everyone. Don't forget about him. And last but not least, we got the Toronto Blue Jays. We got the Blue Jays looking to add multiple position players this offseason, right? Who knows, what ends up happening here, right? These are the four guys they have as free agents: Chapman, Belt, Merrifield, and Kiermaier. So, yeah, they got some work to do. I do have Jamer Candelario going to the Blue Jays. I think that's like a fallback option for Chapman. I could see them maybe appreciating Jamer Candelario is not going to be a better defensive player than Matt Chapman, but he was a bit more steady last year with the bat. So I could see them maybe just turning to him. And, Brandon Bell, I don't see him coming back. With Merrifield, could they go after Jonathan India maybe? Am I forgetting about someone on the roster? I feel like I've seen that connection before with India and the Blue Jays maybe. Kiermaier, I don't see going back. Ever since Kiermaier said, playing on the turf is kind of tough. I expect him maybe, go somewhere else. I don't know, personally. But it seems like Kevin Kiermaier is going to have a bit of a market. Him and the Yankees seem to be best friends, according to the reports. I don't know, where it seems like there's just this, he's open to playing for them. The Yankees are open for him coming in. So I don't know. Could the Blue Jays end up getting Cody Bellinger? Right? That's been a fit that a lot of people have talked about for a while now. Remember Cody Bellinger, before he signed with the Cubs, remember everyone was talking Blue Jays for Cody Bellinger? Could that come into fruition here? I think that's possible. All right. But the Blue Jays, they do have a lot of players on this roster already. Don't forget about Davis Schneider, right? Davis, Babe Ruth, Schneider. Addison Barger, Blue Jays today. They love that guy. Addison Barger is like their favorite player. You got Kevin Biggio, obviously. You got Espinal. So they do have a lot of guys here. Maybe you can go with a smaller option like a Gio Urshela, So, yeah, I buy into this. I think they're going to make a couple of moves. I personally think Jeimer Candelario will be one of them. We'll see. So, everyone, I'm going to get out of here. Other than what I talked about tonight, there's, at least that I haven't seen. I always try to look around everywhere and try to see what else is out there. But that's all the juicy stuff, in my opinion. I'm going to get out of here. I'm tired. I had a long day today. Very long day. We got some content coming out. I'm hoping to post something tomorrow night. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it on by tomorrow night. So if not, Friday the latest. I got some trade videos coming up. I got my top trade candidates for this offseason, and then I got trade predictions as well. You all know how I am with my predictions. I get them wrong. So I know you're all going to be excited with how bad my trade predictions are. I can't wait. I can't wait for those comments. Good grief. Do I even want to put trade packages on that video? Oh my God, I can see it now. If I put like actual trades, I'm going to get all the comments. Wow, that's the worst trade I've ever seen. Why the heck would this team do that trade? Why in the world? They would never do that. They would never give up this player. It's like, do I want to do it? It's like, good grief. At least on the bright side, negative comments are still comments. So I guess that's pretty good. Everyone, I'm out of here. I'm going to get to bed. I'm just exhausted. But have yourself a great night, everyone. If you can, on the way out for me, hit the like button. Again, YouTube loves that freaking button. Hit the bell notification. That way you know I go live every single time. Share the show. Subscribe if you're new. And I'm out of here, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight. And I'll talk to you next time.